Hello, Alice, and welcome to Unpause the Menopause. I'm absolutely delighted to be chatting to you in person.
Well, hi, Morgan. Thank you so much for inviting me on.
Most of our listeners are between 40 and 50, and maybe a little bit older than that. And maybe they haven't been to have any tweakments yet. What would you recommend they maybe think about exploring to start off with?
I think first they need to sit down and think what it is that they want to achieve, what it is that's bothering them about their face, which is often very hard to pinpoint. And it's often an emotional reaction rather than, I mean, if you got massive train tracks of frown lines between your eyebrows, then that's easy to say, I hate these frown lines. And that's easy to fix. You go and find somebody good who does wrinkle relaxing injections. But often it's a question of just like, I look tired. I look angry when I'm not. I look sad when I don't feel it. Or I feel lively and vibrant and sharp and clever and all the rest, but that's not what I'm presenting to the world. And there's that mismatch I'd like to do something about, which is a rather harder thing to express to, in terms of the detail of what you might want. But the thing to do is go and find a really good practitioner, a cosmetic nurse or doctor or surgeon who does a lot of non-surgical work, and book in for a one-to-one. I mean, a lot of them will charge for this because, if they've got 8 consultations in a day, they can't sort of just have an empty, so it's something, if they're busy, they will probably be charging for it. But you will get to sit down with them. They will listen to what it is that's bothering you. And then they can discuss with you possible things they could suggest, what you would be up for in terms of treatments, what your budget would be, whether you're the kind of person who would come back for a course of treatments, whether you live a way away from the clinic and you'd want something that was more of a one-off. But you can discuss the options. And either at that point or before, if you've identified a few treatments you might like to try, you just need to research and look up and find out as much about all these things as possible. So you can go into that doctor armed with a huge bunch of questions. And there is no such thing as a stupid question. I don't think ever in any situation, but people often feel somehow they ought to know about these things. I mean, why should you know about these things? Also, it's your face and your money. So go and ask everything from, if there is a particular procedure, how often have you done this procedure? How often does it go wrong? What happens if it goes wrong? Are you insured, etc., etc.? Anybody who's decent will not find these offensive questions in any way. They'll answer because,
No, they just think you're doing your diligence properly. Yeah.
Exactly. And if you don't like them, if you feel they don't mesh with you as a person, if you feel they're dismissive, whatever, go and find somebody else. It's a very personal thing as well. And all the practitioners are different sorts of people, as we all are. And, some of their clinics are big and buzzy and look like spaceships, and others are sort of quiet and cozy, and it's fascinating having seen so many of them around the UK, that they all are so different. But yeah, start with thinking that there is information about all of this on my website, like where to begin, where to start. If you burrow around there, you can find these things, and just the sort of things to think about. Because if you've got sunspots, pigmentation, patchy pigmentation on your face, there's things you can do with skincare. There's things you can do with treatments like intense pulsed light, which it's not quite laser, but laser can do the same sort of thing, but it busts up the pigment in those sunspots or patches of pigmentation and disperses it. And actually that makes a huge difference to the face, and that's not sticking needles in you at all. And then there's the thing you need to think about: are you going to discuss this with your nearest and dearest? Do you have a partner? How do they feel about it? I mean, we did a survey recently at the Tweakments Guide, and I was amazed to find that 1/3 of the people who replied, and it was nearly 1,000 people who replied, haven't or wouldn't tell, or haven't told their partners that they've had things done. And that's within a pretty Tweakments literate population, if you like. And I thought, wow. So back to the stigma we were talking about, a lot of doctors still get paid in cash, because this can't show up on the household accounts. A lot of people who will book in for one-to-ones with me for a sort of a pre-chat about all this before they go off to see anybody, or after they've seen 3 different doctors who suggested different things. They ring up and say, why did they say all these things and what do I do? Sometimes they'll say, oh, I can't have anything with any downtime because I can't have it show when I go home. My husband wouldn't like it. And I know why their partners would always react saying, you don't need that stuff, because they fear their adored other half will end up looking weird. And then, goodness, what would people say kind of thing. I know. So there's still all that kind of shame around it, and the fear of looking weird. That was the other thing our survey showed. Fear of looking bizarre was by far the thing that...
We've all seen the stuff on the internet of the people looking weird, or that woman in the 80s that ended up looking like a cat. You know, it's all that kind of historic stuff that's still there. Yeah.
Jocelyn Wildenstein, yeah, kind of deliberate. She had a real obsession with cats, but yeah, it did get completely out of hand. But I think there is a fear among a lot of people that if they step into a cosmetic practitioner's office, they will end up looking like that. And you would say, actually, these good practitioners are educated, highly skilled, thoughtful professionals who want you to have a good experience so that you will come back for more, so that you might tell your friends, so that it can be an ongoing relationship. And that's how it is for many people. And it can be nice and it can be easy. I mean, I started doing events, in-person events, to this end about 4 years ago, when I started the business, because a lot of people to whom I would say, you should go and see a great practitioner, they'd be like, oh, I don't, that's too big a step. I thought, if I could only get them in front of a great doctor, nurse, surgeon for 15 minutes, just for a chat, no strings, you know, no compulsion to follow on with anything, maybe they'd see that actually these are nice, thoughtful, educated, highly skilled professionals, etc. And we finally got back to doing them after lockdown. We had one last week, one of these events, and it was really interesting. People were much more on the front foot about it. You know, the first couple of events before lockdown, a lot of the people who came along were like, oh, I'm not sure I should be here. Please don't put me in any of your videos. You know, this is a super secret mission. Whereas this time, all the practitioner appointments, I had 10 practitioners offering one-to-ones in a private area, you know, at the side where people could book in for a chat, just for a bit of direction about, this is bothering me, should I be thinking of this or that? You know, fantastic opportunity. And those appointments, well, actually I had 6 doctors to start with. Those appointments went so fast, I then had to haul in some more doctors. And you know, so I know there's an appetite for this, for good advice. And people are a bit more open about seeking it now than they were a few years ago, which is interesting to see, because I think none of us really liked seeing ourselves on screen during all those lockdowns. Too much time to contemplate.
It's related to that. Yeah, that's interesting.
Well, there was a huge boom in aesthetic treatments as soon as the lockdowns finished each time, and it all seemed to be, you know, some of us get terribly used to what we look like on screen, because, you know, I'm doing stuff for Instagram the whole time, rushing around the house to try and find the best light so that I look decent. You know, I'm all for, I don't use filters, I'm all for looking natural. But the awful thing is, on Instagram, if you look drab and tired, people don't watch the thing you're trying to get them to watch most as much as if I'm wearing makeup, if I'm standing in a nice light.
We're just used to it though, aren't we?
Yes, but if you aren't used to that, and on lockdown, a lot of people are not used to staring at themselves on screen the whole time, so they look at themselves on Zoom time and time again. I had so many women come to me afterwards and say, it's just terrible, I look awful. And I say, like, you don't, you know, get the lighting right, you know, the camera angle is supremely unflattering, you don't look any worse than you did before, you know, please, you know, but still they will come and say, I know the stuff's out there, you know, I don't know where to start, help. And lockdown was an impetus to that for a lot of people.
Yeah, and for you yourself, and I know this is not a one size fits all, but if you could only ever do one treatment, what would you definitely not give up? What do you love?
Well, this is a slight sideline. I meant to say this when we were talking about skincare, but the hormone replacement, because that is so fundamental. It is fundamental to how well our skin looks, how well it functions. So skin health, as well as all the myriad other things that you'll be talking about the whole time, from the not having brain fog to your joints working to your heart health, etc., etc. So apart from that, in terms of skincare, if I only had one thing, it would be a moisturizing sunscreen, and I'd probably use it at night, whatever, as well, just if I needed anything on my face. And in terms of treatments, I mean, I argue this back and forth with practitioners, and I never quite know what to say, because it depends on. But for me, it would probably be wrinkle relaxing toxin, because it's not so much for the wrinkles, it's for I grind my teeth, so I have buckets in my jaw to stop me grinding my teeth. I also have a lot of it down my neck, because I've got the sort of neck that clenches into stringy bands. Given half a chance, it softens that.
You have the most wonderful jawline. I was actually been watching you. You've got a wonderful jawline.
You're very kind, thank you. It gets a lot of help. I have had fillers, fat transfer, whatever. I have skin tightening procedures. I'm very lucky. I get to try all these things for work, and I would need a very, very large budget if I was to do all these things on my own. But there are some people out there who do. They ring up, they talk about the stuff they've been doing. I think you've been dropping $3,000 here, there, everywhere, which is kind of mad. But the toxin as well, I love having it in my armpits, because it stops you sweating. Much more superficially, it's just stopping the message getting through from the nerves that are saying panic, sweat, to the sweat glands. So, and it's not dangerous. There's the whole rest of your body to sweat through.
So what, it just prevents patches from coming under your arms then?
Just have it all round the bits that are, also I'm the kind of nervous person who starts sweating in a panic, even in meetings where I have no reason to do that. So it's the nervous sweat rather than, though obviously it's all the same. I sweat during yoga, but not under my armpits, which is very convenient. And so, because it's such a variable, diverse sort of thing, I would probably value that over fillers. So I wouldn't, as soon as my face started to go hollow and drop in, and I lost my jawline and blah blah, all the bits of it. But then, if you're somebody who's spent a lot of time in the sun, laser is to resurface the skin, get rid of the pigmentation. It also tightens up and reboots the collagen. A lot of people will tell you that laser is the best thing to do. If you could do nothing, do laser, because it tightens and reconditions the skin all in one go. So those are probably the big three that I would go around in circles thinking, ooh. But if it was just one thing, it would probably be the toxin. That's the simplest thing. That's what people will usually start with, just because for the vast majority of people, it's these frown lines in between the eyebrows, the 11s. Which, just a little bit there can soften them, and then you look a bit brighter. Also, there is increasingly good data coming through to show that regular toxin injections in the face have as much improvement on the mood as antidepressants.
Really?
Which is not something that people want to hear, but there have been, I've been meaning to write about this for the past year, and then I run away from it.
Why is that then?
Well, there's been a lot of research that sort of shows these kind of treatments improve the mood. And usually it's thought to be because if you can't frown, then you don't go around feeling cross and frowning. And then that kind of positive feedback makes you feel a bit happier and more relaxed. But it seems now it's having a much more fundamental effect on alleviating mood, low mood. And I'd have to look up all the studies on that to show you, but they are out there. And by the time there's a dozen studies, clinical studies, you think, oh, okay, actually this is quite a serious thing. This isn't just.
So it's not just about being happy with what you look like now. It's actually about how people react to you because you're not frowning. And yeah.
No, it's much more fundamental. So yeah. So for that reason, I do toxin pretty regularly, along with all the cold showers and getting out in daylight and all the rest of it.
And Alice, what's your view on collagen? Because it's really a non-invasive treatment. Do you think it works?
Collagen
Yeah.
supplements. Yeah, I do. I really do. I've been a big fan of them for years, and I got really consistent with taking collagen supplements during lockdown, and I find it benefits my skin, my nails, my hair. Those are where I really see the changes. And I think to a certain extent, it depends what collagen you take. I like a really fancy one that I've got on my website. It's called Totally Derma, and it's like the Rolls Royce of collagens, and it's quite expensive, but it really delivers what it says for a number of reasons. Anybody who wants to know can go and look up what I say about it there. But I do think there is benefit in taking collagen, and that there's a lot of sort of middle market collagens that are pretty good, because the theory is if you're delivering 10,000 milligrams of hydrolyzed collagen, that's collagen where the collagen's a big molecule. So if you smash it up with the water that's a hydrolyzing into tiny fragments, it's much more easily absorbed in the body. And people will say, oh, you could just eat protein, you could eat chicken. That gets broken down into amino acids in the stomach, but those get broken down into long chain amino acids. Most of these collagen supplements, they go in as short chain amino acids. They get absorbed in the intestine. Your body can tell it's got more collagen on the loose. And when your body naturally has got a lot of collagen on the loose in the bloodstream, that'll be because it is there's been a wound of some sort that the collagen is needed to repair. So it'll go scooting around, sort of sorting out what it needs to sort out. And having the extra collagen present in the body seems to stimulate your body's own collagen production response. And that has a knock-on effect in the skin. Brands like the one I like and that I take, they have studies to show that a certain time after you've taken it, you can detect their actual collagen in the skin, because they've done biopsies where they actually take out a tiny chunk of skin from some lucky volunteers that shows there is their collagen present in the skin. But I think a lot of the brands that aren't so expensive, like whether you've got Revive Collagen, Absolute Collagen, Ingenious Collagen, Pure Gold Collagen, there's loads of them, that they all have a lot of this hydrolyzed collagen. And if you take them consistently, and you need to take them consistently every day for months, and you've got to stick with it for months, because your body doesn't create hair, skin, nails in a day. One of the collagen brands really annoys me, because it says that people see the change in their hair in 2 weeks. You've got to think about how your hair is produced. It grows from the follicle, it grows from the root. So if you are affecting the root growth of the hair, how long does it take for that hair to emerge from your head and head down the side of your head to where you can tell that it's a better, stronger hair than the one before? It's not like a magic fertilizer that's taken up and spreads the whole way through. I mean, it's possible I'm wrong on this, but I don't think it takes a long time. So you need to commit to at least 3 months before you judge it. But I do think it helps with the strength and the glow, and it also helps with gut health, because helps sort of healing the lining of the gut. So if you've got issues with leaky gut, it can be handy for that. So I know they're like one more thing to take, but they're one thing I do take every day, and that I don't see myself giving up in the future.
Well, it's good to know that you think they work as well. I think that's important.
Yeah, I do.
So you've written 3 books, is that right?
I wrote a couple of books with my daughters about makeup for teenagers a long time ago, which is still, there's one of them, it still goes strong every Christmas. But yes, 2 about tweakments, though. Well, 2 in the Tweakments Guide series, one about tweakments and one about skincare, because starting with skincare is really important. And if you're wondering where to start, proper skincare is the thing. Though I self-published them on Amazon, Kindle Direct Publishing, and they're not available at the moment because Kindle, in its wisdom, sent an email saying, you have transgressed, you have multiple accounts, we are taking down your books, all the reviews, no more royalties. You think, what? Yeah, it happened 2 years ago. My husband who runs a business with me, and I, protested. You get like one email to go back and say, I don't believe this is a fair thing, and then there's like nothing. You can't reach them. They won't respond to emails. You can't ring anybody. It's really tricky. But last time, after about 6 weeks of agony and thinking, what do we do now? Life's work vanished. They sent us a message saying we were wrong. They're back up, and I was hoping they'd do the same thing. But we got another email last week because we went back saying, this happened 2 years ago. Here is the case report showing we had not transgressed. We do not have multiple accounts. Please refer to this. And they came back saying, no, you've still broken the rules. So I don't have any books at the moment, but there is about to be another one. But I'm now wondering how on earth to put it out in a form that it may survive, because self-publishing is much, much easier and quicker than going through the traditional routes. And it's very possible now, thanks to outfits like Kindle Direct Publishing.
And what's your new book going to be called?
The body. So it'll be the Tweakments Guide, the body book.
To the whole body rather than just the face?
Yes, absolutely, because most of these procedures can be applied to various concerns on the body. I would in no way suggest people start with them rather than exercise and decent lifestyle. That's the other thing we haven't mentioned, that lifestyle is absolutely crucial in how we look and how our skin functions. There's been a lot of work sort of looking into this area, and more sleep, absolutely vital, less stress. These things all have a huge impact on your skin. Eating a decent diet, fresh food, a load of antioxidants, if you can afford to do that, that will help you enormously. Decent skincare, having a purpose in life, keeping up your social networks, all those things, they impact on, everything in life, but also the quality of your skin. So, you could just do tweakments but I think you can't get away without skincare, and you can't get away without those lifestyle factors.
But also they're beneficial to do for your long-term health anyway. So you
for sure.
Well, that's been great, Alice. How do our listeners find you? What's the best place?
You put Alice Tweakments into your nearest search engine and see what comes up. There's the website. The website is thetweakmentsguide.com. And on social, I'm mostly on Instagram, just at Alice Hart-Davis, all one word, no E in Hart, no E in Davis. But Alice Tweakments usually produces enough to play with. And people should shove in questions. There's a bit on the website called Ask Alice, or if you find it easy to put a question into the direct messages in Instagram, I'll usually push those across to the website, because then I can answer them all in the order they came in, because there's quite a lot of questions.
Yeah, well, I'd really recommend your Instagram account to our listeners, because I've learned so much, and I think you're so honest on it about what you're doing, and you really show the procedures properly, which I think is quite unusual in the industry as well.
Yeah, thank you. I try to show it because a lot of people say, oh, I did this thing and now I'm amazing. And you want to say, yeah, that thing involved a lot of needles or downtime or some kind of anxiety along the way. It's not always plain sailing. So I do feel it's really important to, and for anybody who's contemplating any of this before they step anywhere near it, to know what the pros and cons are. Anyway, I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You were about to say something else.
No, not at all. That's perfect. And I just really want to thank you for coming on and chatting to us about it and telling us a little bit more about why you do what you do and helping others. So thanks, Alice.
You're very welcome. Thanks so much.
I really enjoyed it today. Thanks so much.